Hi, you're welcome to Executive Conversations. My name is Kenny Nelly. What we do in this episode is just to speak with our executive members to learn from their experiences and their wealth of wisdom. So with me here today, we have the Chief Operating Officers of Streetset Integrated Limited, Mr. Patrick Audu. Mr. Patrick, you're welcome.
Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's just drive straight into it. Today, I would want us to talk a bit more on change management.
Okay.
It's something I've been hearing about, but I believe that a lot of people don't really know what it's about. So can you just share with us what change management is all about?
So thank you, Kenny. As you are well aware, I'm a fierce advocate for change, and it's a topic that I'm very interested in, and I think that every other person too should be interested in.
Right.
So I'm going to speak to change management, but we like to talk about change leadership now.
Okay.
But let's speak to change management. So what is change management? Simply is the process by which you prepare individuals, teams, and organizations in order to embrace organizational change.
Okay.
However, there's an emerging science of change that has led to what we like to think of now as change leadership. And change leadership is that ability for the individual, the self, and organizations to lead through disruptions, growth, transitions, and all other transformative change.
Okay.
Now, if you catch the certain nuances, change management is about processes and approaches, while change leadership is about ability, it's about capability. So we like to think about change management because it's about building an innate capability within individuals and within organizations. And when you build that capability, any other management approach is easily layered on. Not just change management, but think of any other agile, lean, and Six Sigma and the rest.
Okay, that's interesting. So when it comes to change management, it does appear that you only hear about it in multinationals and large organizations.
Yes.
Why is it that small businesses don't talk about change management? Don't they need change management?
They do. Everybody needs it. Or better still, everybody needs change leadership.
Okay.
Now, change management, the way it's been up until now, has largely been the preserve of large cap organizations,
Sure.
governments, institutions, people that can afford to pay it.
Yes.
And that's because it focuses on managing large-scale organizational change. Now, even if for change leadership, there is also that wealth of knowledge that helps to guide large transformational change. It's also about the innate ability of individuals, teams, and organizations to meet the fast-paced change that we're seeing in our environment right now.
Okay.
So yes, there are some perceptions that change management is for large organizations. But as I've said, because insights that we've learned from the emerging science of change is showing that there is a need for every one of us, individuals and organizations, to develop an ability, right, to meet, react successfully and adapt successfully to the change, the pace and amount of change we are seeing around us.
Okay. So for people who do not have access to change, like change leadership or change management, people that are in small businesses or what have you, what do you think they can do to actually be a part of this?
Now, so I'm a fierce advocate for reading. And we have lots of resources out there that anybody can pick up and read. There are several books from John Kotter. Now, John Kotter is the premier researcher on change.
Okay.
He pioneered the science of change. He pioneered what you would now think of as change management, and his wealth of research, his multi-decade research, has actually advanced that field into what we now think of as change leadership. So there are books out there. His first book, Leading Change, you have Change, and How to Get Onto the Bus. There are several other books that are out there. Now, that's one way. We also have several change leadership courses and certifications that are available. They can be pricey, but if you can imagine the knowledge that you gain and how it will prepare you to meet the kind of change that's coming at us now, then you know that's what is weight in gold.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned something about John Kotter, who is the foremost or the premier authority when it comes to change. So does that mean that that's what you're really talking about, Kotter change leadership?
Yes, Kotter change leadership.
Okay.
As I've said, I have been in the field of change for multiple years now, dozens of years, and for most people, their first intro into change is probably Kotter's 8-step process towards change.
Okay.
Okay. Now there are other methodologies that have come up, but most of them, and if not all of them, are focused on change management.
Okay.
Now with Kotter, over decades of research and decades of consulting experience, they have pioneered an emerging science of change that is rooted in neuroscience, business history, leadership, and organizational design. Now, what this emerging science does is that it's providing insights into why organizations, humans or individuals and organizations struggle with change, why a few of them succeed, what those few do differently, and how the rest of us can adopt the things they do in order to make change more easy for us. And now you might ask, why is this important?
Exactly.
Right? Now, think about the type of change we've been seeing. Not just the type, the amount and the pace. And now when I say amount and pace, is that decades ago, you could see innovations coming at you drip by drip, you know, 1 in 5 years, 1 in 10 years. But imagine what has happened and what has hit us since the pandemic, COVID pandemic. We have had AI, ChatGPT. ChatGPT competitors have flooded the market. We've had the Internet of Things is advancing. Reality and augmentation technology is advancing. You're seeing recently, NVIDIA, I believe, they just released a standalone desktop AI computer, right? And so change is coming at us at a furious pace. And it's impacting not just the individual, but also organizations. But what we found out and what research has shown is that our ability as individuals and organizations to respond at pace to that change has been, to say the least, not up to par.
Okay.
Right? Now, so why this is important? Why this knowledge is important is that it helps to bridge that gap. And in the gap between the external change and the internal change, that gap represents both an opportunity and a threat. It's a threat because if we do not bridge that gap, you continue to see failures, organizational failures and individual failures, right? If we bridge that gap, then eventually we can begin to see organizations, individuals, and society achieve their potential.
Okay, so that's interesting. Now, because we're in the Nigerian ecosystem and the Nigerian space, what do you think, one, is Nigerians' attitude to change? Now, do you think Nigerians have that innovative mentality in them, or they are more of, let's do it by the book, let's stick with what we're already used to, the known methods and methodologies? Where do Nigerians even come in this?
So I'll say a little of both.
Okay.
You ought to remember that we are people, we have a large demography of youths.
True.
Now, the thing about youth is that they are fiercely innovative and creative. However, we're in an African society, and particularly for Nigeria, we have a high dominance for authority and authority figures. So there tends to be a moderating effect, a very large moderating effect by people in authority and the older ones. You know how tradition affects us. The fact that when you come into a room, you have to
the elders and all of that.
Yes, and it does affect the way change comes or the way we respond to change. Okay. Now, however, we are a people that are thought of as highly creative, highly innovative, and highly responsive. There's a reason why it's almost like in every African country you go to, you see Nigerians succeeding and doing well. Yes. Now, however, we are speaking towards a change that is slightly different. and I'm speaking towards how do we react to new technology. We're in the information age. We are going into the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
That 1, 2, 3 has come and has left Nigeria and Africa. Are we going to be able to ride the tailwinds of the fourth revolution and get ahead?
Yeah.
And so that's the question. And we are seeing signs that yes, we are capable of doing this. Obviously, the capability is there, but we need to be deliberate about building that change capability to ensure that we can take advantage of all the changes that are happening around us. And while in some areas, for instance, in our payment systems, we are very far ahead of some of our contemporaries, even some of the developed world. But if you look at some other areas, we're so far behind, right? And it seems as if we are not doing the things that we need to do in order to bridge that gap. Take agriculture, for instance, and manufacturing. Most of our production systems are still in the pre-industrial era.
Yeah.
We haven't crossed that gap into industrialization. And so we need to be able to build the capability for us as individuals, local organizations, and even the governments to cross that gap and cross it speedily.
Interesting. So when I hear of countries like Japan, Singapore, change has actually been institutionalized in them.
Yes.
Where do you think the issue is with Nigerians, and why we have not embraced the kind of change that would actually cause the nation to see a tremendous advancement?
I will not say it's an issue. I would say it's been first, the likely traditional type of society we're in, where there's a high dominance for authority and authority figures. And what we are seeing now is the youths are breaking the chains in quotes that seem to hold them back, right, and striving forward. What can help now is this kind of upskilling, this kind of capability development, right? Because what that does it will channel our efforts towards making sure that we can actually harness the opportunities that are around us.
Okay.
Now, so there are opportunities and there are threats. Behind every opportunity is a threat, and behind every threat is an opportunity.
Yes.
So the idea here is to ensure that by building genuine change capabilities, our opportunity radar is highly activated and not our threat radar. So that everything we look at, we see opportunities. It's something we are actually good at, right?
Yeah.
However, we haven't optimized it as much as we could.
Okay. So if there are organizations who hear or see this and are thinking, okay, how can I actually be a part of this Kotter thing? How do they go about it?
So they can contact us. StreetSight Integrated Limited, we are official partners for Kotter in Nigeria and West Africa. We are fierce advocates for change, I particularly, because we know what this capability can do. It has in it the seed for transforming not just Nigeria but Africa. So you can approach us. We have courses, off-the-shelf courses for change leadership. We have certifications too, Kotter certified change specialist and the Kotter certified change leader. And we also are able to curate tailored courses to meet the particular needs of organizations.
Okay, that's interesting. So that means that no matter what scale of organization you are, whether you're a small business, you're a medium business, or you are the high and mighty, there's actually a package for
there's something for you.
Oh, okay. Yes. Interesting. So that means that Nigerians change, we've always been talking about change. Change starts with you. So I would say that change leadership actually starts with you. It's important, as we have heard, to take some of these things seriously. Start by understanding who is this Kotter we're talking about, what has he done, and what makes him credible in this space, and also learn a bit about change leadership and how you can actually be a part of it. You'll see information on your screen on the emails you can reach out to, or the phone numbers you can call if you really want to speak to us and jump into this change movement. So on a final note, I would want Mr. Patrick to just, what's the final word you want to give to everyone who has listened to this and is thinking, I believe this is something I should do, but there's still that sense of hesitation. Should I do it? Should I do it? What do you have to say to them?
There's this saying that the only constant in your life is change. Now that is true, and it's even truer now. The pace, the amount, and the complexity of change that is around us and is coming at us is increasing. Now that's a given fact. What you now need to do is to improve yourself so that you can respond speedily to such change that is coming, and not just speedily, that you can survive and thrive. And what change leadership does is to enable you to survive and thrive regardless of the pace, complexity, or type of change that comes your way. So I would encourage everybody, please, right? You don't have to take a course. You can read a book. Go to John Kotter's, Google John Kotter, you'll see all his books. Try and read one. If not, if you want to do a more formal training, you can approach us, obviously, and we're there to help. But you cannot afford not to build your change capability. So go out there, build the change capability.